Hello there. Today we'll learn about Canary deployments. In our previous videos, we have seen what is blue-green deployment, what is rolling update, and today we'll see what is Canary deployment. So in software engineering, Canary deployment is the practice of making staged releases. We roll out a software updates to a small part of the user first so they may test it and provide feedback. So it may be a few set of users for a given country or for a given region as well. Once the change is accepted, the update is rolled out to the rest of the users. So you can consider it as a alpha or beta release as well. Canary deployment shows how users interact with the application change in the real world. As in blue-green deployments, the Canary strategy offers no downtime, upgrades, and easy rollbacks. Unlike the blue-green, Canary deployments are smoother and failures have limited impact. You can see in this diagram or the image that Canary deployments will be done on a separate server and the existing channel will remain open for general users. So one version will be released for Canary and the other version will remain as it is for rest of the users. In a Canary deployment, on the other hand, we install the update in our system and split users into two groups. A small percentage of them will go to the Canary while the rest go to the older version of the softwares. So for example, in here you can see for beta testing we can use it. So all the general population will go to example.com and the rest early adopters will go to beta.example.com. Once we have taken the time to evaluate the Canary version, we can decide to migrate the rest of the user to the Canary or roll over back to the previous version. We create a whole new duplicate environment and install the Canary deployments there. To make the deployments, we clone the hardware resources and install the updates. Once the Canary is running on the new environment, we show it to a portion of the user base. This typically happens using a router, a load balancer, or a reverse proxy, or some other business logic in the application. Because we need to share the load between Canary and the actual or the older code base. So we can do that using proxy or load balancer or router or an API gateway. Here in this diagram you can see 95% of user go to the previous release and 5% of user is routed to the new release. We can have a separate CI/CD pipeline for doing the Canary deployment, which will be separate from the actual production or the server deployments. So what are the benefits? Why we are doing this? So the benefit is it will help us in doing alpha or beta testing. We can use the Canary to do alpha beta testing. In other words, we present two alternatives to the users and see which gets better reception. It also helps you to test the capacity. It is impossible to test the capacity of a larger production environments. With the Canary deployments, capacity tests are built in. Any performance issues we have in our system will begin to crop us as we slowly migrate the user to the Canary. It is easy to get the early feedback from the Canary deployments as well. We get invaluable input from the real users. Here we don't have any cold start. New system can take a while to start up. Canary deployments slowly build up a momentum to prevent cold start slowness. There is no downtime. Like blue-green deployments, a Canary deployment doesn't generate downtime. And it is easy to roll back. If something goes wrong, we can easily roll back to the previous versions. So how should we do it? What should be the strategy? So first of all, we should stage how many users do we want to send to the Canary first. Once this is decided, we can do this configuration at the router level or API gateway layer or proxy layer. Second, duration. For how long do you want to run this Canary deployment? Canary deployment usually run for minutes or hours. Canary releases are different as we must wait for enough clients to be updated before we can access the results. This can happen over several days or even weeks. Third is the metrics. What metrics we should record to analyze progress, including application performance and error reports. Well-chosen parameters are essential for successful Canary deployments. Evaluation. What criteria will you use to determine Canary is success or failure? So Canary deployment strategy means deploying new version of an application next to a stable production version. So both the stable production version and Canary deployment will run parallelly. You can then see how the Canary version compares to the baseline before promoting or rejecting the deployment. Canary release is a software development strategy in which a new version of API as well as the other software is deployed for testing purpose. and the base version remains deployed as a production release for the normal operation on the same stage. For purposes of discussion, we refer to the base version as a production release in this documentation. Although this is reasonable, you are free to apply Canary release on any non-production version for testing. In a Canary release deployment, total API traffic is separated at random into production release and a Canary release with a pre-configured ratio. Typically, the Canary release receives a small percentage of API traffic and the production release takes up the rest. The updated API features are only visible to API traffic through the Canary release. You can adjust the Canary traffic percentage to optimize test coverage or performance. By keeping Canary traffic small and the selection random, most users are not adversely affected at any time by potential bug in the new version, and no single user is adversely affected all the time. After the test matrix passed your requirements, you can promote the Canary release to the stable release and disable the Canary from the deployments. This makes the new feature available for all the production users. So in Canary deployments, we have to decide how many users or what percentage of users we want to route for the Canary deployments. So one set of user will go to the Canary and the other set of user will go to the production. In this example, you can see we can test the multiple features using Canary. So most of the user will go to the phase 3, which will have all the previous releases, but phase 1 and phase 2 will be done on the smaller set of users. And this traffic can be routed based on application logic or router or load balancer or proxy servers. So basically this will be used for new features or any experiment or any testing of new functionality. And this can be used for the alpha or test or beta test or for user testing, UAT testing. Canary release is a deployment rollout strategy that aims at minimizing new software risk by directing a small percentage of users to the new version of the application. After verifying that new application works as intended, the traffic directs it is gradually increased and eventually all traffic is directed to it. In case an issue is detected at any point throughout the deployment, a rollback is performed with ease because both the current and the new versions are in production environments. So you can see here, this is one set of deployment of a Canary where version 1.1 will route 10% of traffic and 90% of the traffic will go to version 1.0, which is the older version. And after testing properly, we'll decide whether we should go ahead with the version 1.1 or not. So it helps us a lot. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you think the videos are helpful, do like the video and subscribe to the channel.